it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Welcome back, everybody, this week to Doing with Styles. That's what the sign says right up there. So that's how you know this is my show. For those of you that keep coming back every week and watching this and the other shows that we have on the channel, I really do thank you. We all have a lot of fun here. We put a lot of good stuff out, and we're about to put out some more good stuff. For those of you that have been watching the station for quite a while, you may remember Heidi Mancini. Hi, Heidi.
Hi. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no, I'm excited. Heidi's going to be doing a new show here, and I think we're still trying to figure out what the title's going to be, but we'll have that figured out by the time it airs. And I'm excited for some of the material that you want to present and bring out. And can you tell us a little bit about, what you're going to be doing?
Well, I'm going to be doing some talks on nutrition for women and everybody generally. I want to do maybe some live exercise with some people on the show, bring the kids in. My main thing is self-esteem building, and that's helping the younger generation kind of find themselves a little bit, because they're actually you would think the self-esteem would be better today with all the social media and all the graphics that they view, and it's actually worse.
I can believe that. I really can.
It's a fake world that they live in,
right.
So their self-esteem is fake, and by the time they get through high school and they go into college, most children from like the age of 27 or 26, that's the highest suicide rate right now. And I don't know if people are aware of that, but it's when they finally leave the nest and they're out in the real world in college, and they don't have the
filters
parents,
and
the filters, the micromanaging of their parents,
yeah.
and the teachers telling them what to do. They have no self-esteem because they've been pretty much led by the nose, for everything, for
right.
accountability. They've never been held accountable because
right.
the adults have been doing it. Then they're on social media, and they're never held accountable there either, because the first minute that you don't like somebody's picture or they don't follow you, you block them, you throw them off, and then their self-esteem is all based on how many followers and likes they
right.
get. And as we all know, that's fake too, because half of the people that may like you've never met them, never had a conversation.
If you saw them on the street, you wouldn't
How
know who
do
the hell
like
they were.
you?
Yeah.
So they like you because what? They like your hair.
Yeah.
Maybe they like because you're in the fitness industry.
Right.
Whatever their interest is, that's why they like you, because of you share maybe a common interest, but they don't know you. So these kids have like a false sense of themselves, and it's getting worse.
Well, I think this is a perfect natural progression for you, because you're a bodybuilder, mm-hmm. you are a personal trainer, you're also a hairstylist. Do they still call them hairstylists? Mm-hmm. Do they call them anything else now? Okay.
The
so
hairstylist, cosmetologist. I can't even say my own profession. Whatever. And then you got some people that give themselves like a fancier name.
Okay, but
hairstylist,
so
yes.
all of these things help an individual develop an outside, and now you're focusing on what's inside. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be, I'm excited, because I really think that it's not fair, because I know you and I know what kind of person you are, and to see you bringing that to other people and sharing it and sharing your message on top of all the other stuff, that you have the potential of creating or helping to mold some complete and total individuals.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times it's like changing. I don't want to say changing. You don't want to change people, but you help them realize what their potential is. And I know back when I was, I don't even know, 15 years ago, when I went through my change, whatever you want to call that. I went through my divorce. My growth period. I was 33 when my dad died, and then I ended up getting divorced by the time I was 42, because I remember thinking, I don't have a protector anymore. Even though I was married, my dad was always my,
right.
And I had a lot of respect for my dad. He was a very good male role model for me. I started to realize when I started challenging myself, I remember going into the gym for the very first time, and I was 40. I had just quit smoking. I'd smoked like 20 years. Didn't have any idea what the heck I was getting into, but I knew I made a conscious decision that I actually knew I was going to leave my old life. I knew my marriage was going to end. I
Right.
knew that me stepping into this new whatever, that was going to end. So that was scary. And then I remember going in the gym, and I'm like, oh my God, I had to pick the hardest core gym in Las Vegas, Gold's Gym. And I'm a middle-aged lady, overweight, you know, just whatever. So I had no idea what I was walking into. And during that process, during my life, people told me who I was.
Right.
And during that process, I realized, hold it, I can do this stuff. And a lot of times when I talk to women as I'm training them, and even the kids, it's amazing to me how much they think everybody knows what they can't do.
Right.
Like if I said to you, you know, what are your positive attributes?
Oh, you want me to answer
I want
that?
you to answer it.
I like people. I like helping people. Which is why I'm doing what I do here. It gives me a chance to meet a lot of great people. I think that every person that we meet, we have an effect on, whether it's good or bad. I don't talk about my shortcomings because there's too many of them and it takes up too much time. So I try to focus on the good stuff.
But the thing is what I find, and it's funny that you came out with that so quickly, because when I was asked that question, it took me, like the first thing that came to my head was a negative thought about
Of
myself.
course.
And so,
And mine too, and I've had to learn to not do that.
right. So there's like the good devil and the bad devil.
Exactly.
So when I work with people, I always, and especially young people, I'll say, oh, I want you to have proof behind that belief, okay? And they'll say, yes, I have proof because of this, this, and this.
Right.
And I'll say, okay. But if you don't have the proof, and it's something that another adult told you, which could be a teacher, a parent, anybody that's, usually it's an adult that these negative things come from, because the adults and the parents, again, they do the best they can do. So this is no way a put down to parenting
Right.
or anything, but they
They
tend
don't
to
teach you that
throw-
in school.
No.
It's like, okay, you're a dad.
But the parents don't realize they're screwed up.
Right.
Okay, so you got parents having children, they don't realize they're walking around with these faulty beliefs or whatever they think about themselves, and then they pass those beliefs on to their children because I wasn't good at this in school. Well, you're not going to be good because you're like your father, or you're like your mother, or whatever. So this kid grows up thinking that I'm not smart in math,
Right.
I'm not going to be a good athlete. And, you know, like I said, is that a true belief about yourself? And it makes me sad to think that some children, they think more poorly of themselves than they have good thoughts.
Right.
And it took me almost my whole life. I was, like I said, 33 when my dad died, and I was 40 years old when I was like, what is self-esteem? I had no clue what that word even meant.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have any self-esteem. I had no idea who Heidi was because I was, like I said, I got married at 20, right out of high school.
You were somebody's daughter, you were
I was
somebody's sister,
daughter,
you were somebody's mother,
sister.
you were somebody's wife.
Then I became a mother, and then I
Right.
was somebody's mother, and it's like, but what is in this life for me?
Right.
You know, and then you start exploring that, and I realized, wow, I've got a lot of guts, and I've got a lot more going for me than I thought, you know,
Yeah.
as a young woman. So I want to help, and even boys go through this. You know, we want to exclude the gentlemen and the boys from all this, but I think boys equally have their pressures in growing up of what's the expectations of
Well,
a man, a boy.
yeah, we're taught to, don't show your emotions. Don't cry, be tough. Don't be a pussy, suck it up. Walk it off. And then you go into the military, or you in high school, you're in sports. And it's like,
But you know what a lot of people don't realize too about that is, first of all, I think it was unfair whoever said that. I don't know why that was conditioned into men, that's how they had to be. So obviously it was a cultural thing
Sure.
that happened. But I'm noticing that some of the younger generation, the younger men are a little bit more sensitive. They're a little bit more into their feelings, and they get criticized for that.
right.
They're still doing it, which I find that it's good that they're doing that,
Yeah.
because the depression is greater in men, and the suicide rate and the homeless rate of men than it is for women. And we don't, with the statistics being that high, why is the culture we're still pushing the men off to the side?
Okay,
and we're
think
not?
about this. In the last year, we've had 606 mass shootings. not 606 dead people, but 606 incidents of mass shootings. Not one of those was a woman.
No.
They were all perpetrated by men.
They are, and when you think of, when you talk about a lot of crimes, even against women, they're committed most of the time by men,
Right.
or sexual assault, rapes,
Right.
things like that. So that should tell people that emotionally there is a lot of unhealed stuff going on inside of them, and they haven't been allowed. Like women, we talk to each other.
Right.
Women have friends, we talk, we gossip, we have our venting pole. But a man, I don't think, can go into, say, here, you can't go up to another guy and go, oh, I'm having issues with my marriage, blah, 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 because it makes you seem like a puss or
Right.
whatever.
You're
so
weak.
Men don't talk
You're not
about
really a man.
their problems.
Right.
So they hold it all in.
Yep.
And that's to the detriment, even to their own relationships. Because women now, and maybe women always have, but women now want it kind of all too. They want the man that's the stoic guy that's going to take care of them, but then we also want the feeling guy.
Right.
So the men are confused, the women are confused, and the kids, and now we're raising these kids, and the kids don't know how to act.
Well, the kids, almost everything they've learned has been from either television or social media. And don't get me wrong, there's some great kids out there. I mean, I've had the opportunity to really meet some terrific kids that have
too.
given me a lot of hope and positive feelings about the future. Because the changes in our country or in the world come from the young people, not old people like me. We've already done our thing, and now these are the ones that are coming up, and these are the ones that are going to be running the country and running the world. And man, we need to be careful there.
But as adults, though, we need to advocate for these children. We need to encourage that, because not a lot, but sometimes I hear my generation and older, oh, these kids, they're all a bunch of, entitled brats and all these kinds of things. And it's like you said, for some reason we always get fed all the negatives, even
Right.
even on media.
Right.
You always get fed all the weirdest stuff that's going on, the bad kids.
Okay, so you talked about women talking, with each other and stuff like that, and men do to a certain extent in this instance, and that's gossip. There's no better feeling in the world than to be able to tell somebody something bad about somebody else, and they will believe that.
Oh yeah.
It's easier to get somebody to believe something bad about someone than it is to get them to believe something good.
Well, I think part of that is because most of us know that we're not good all the time.
Right.
So it almost validates us when we hear something bad about somebody. We're like, oh, okay, I'm not the only.
I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
I'm not the only shithead on the
Right.
planet, because we all
are
at times
Yeah.
are not as virtuous as we should be, and
Right.
we all make mistakes. So I think there again, for me, I always hear this word authenticity. How authentic are you? And sometimes again, what people are putting out there, whether it be on social media, and sometimes what really matches inside, and that's what causes all the depression, because
Right.
there's not that alignment, and that's why the kids are so depressed, because they're not only being told by their parents, you got to do A, B, and C to be successful or not, and then they go on social media and they see these people that they know. I had one girl tell me, she goes, it's so irritating. When I did this one workshop, I asked the girls, I said, social media, how many of you girls, is it a positive thing for you? And there were 6 in the room. And every single one of them, with the exception of one, said, oh, it's terrible. I go on there and I feel worse when I get off of there.
Yeah.
And they said it's because they see girls from school or guys from school portraying, something that they're not, that they know
It's
they're
not their real life.
Right. And then only one girl said, I like TikTok because, or not TikTok, it was
Twitter?
Instagram, because she
Okay.
said, I go on there and I get recipes because I like to bake.
Right.
I go, okay, that would be a reason to be on
Yeah.
because you're learning, you're sharing positive, real type stuff.
Right.
And out of the 5, that every single one said it made them feel bad. And I go, well, why don't you have social media then? Again, but here's the other problem. It's addicting.
Of course it is.
The phones,
Yeah.
the devices. It's addicting. They can't put the devices down.
There's what is it, serotonin?
You get a serotonin rush.
Yeah.
Listen, if you can look at your phone, and your phone can make you feel better than your partner,
Yeah.
where do you think your head's going to be?
Exactly.
And that's both men and women.
Yeah, no, I
you know,
believe
and
that.
they want to blame men for that too, but I go into restaurants and I laugh. I wish there was a time when I could get there and I could actually walk up to somebody and just take their picture.
Yeah.
Because you'll see both of them on their phones, not even engaging with each other. It's like,
But wait, they
how do you
might be-
expect a relationship to work?
They might be texting each other.
I don't know, but even that's not real. That's
I
not.
know.
We need human connection, and you know
Right.
how we found that out too?
Yeah.
In COVID.
Right.
How many people got sick during COVID? My older clientele, my hair clientele.
Right.
I have an older clientele because I've been here 25 years doing hair, and I started work. These were my clients when I moved here, and when I saw how isolated, when they made them isolate, they ended up with illnesses that
Yeah.
they didn't have. One of my I shouldn't say, I had a few ladies pass away because they were so depressed. The fear of ending up in the hospital and not having their loved ones come and
Yeah.
see them, that was mentally disturbing. So we know as people, we know as a race, we need to talk, we need to have this, you know, we need to be able to touch each other, hug each other, this, you know, fist pumping, whatever that's all about, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the communication, if you're texting somebody, that's not real either, because you don't know the real emotion behind their
Exactly.
words. They could be making
Wait.
faces.
Were they being sarcastic?
I've had
or
my
did they
clients
mean that?
say to me, when you responded to my text, you sounded angry. And I go, well, I was in the middle of a client and I saw your text and I wanted to respond quickly, but I didn't want to be rude to my client in my
Right.
chair. So now I make an effort to send an emoji, a smiley face or a kissy face after each, just so that the client knows I'm not being, you know, nasty, or I'm not being short with you. It's just that
Right.
I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take the time away from that client because I'm talking with you.
We used to have neighbors that would come over to the house all the time, and I got to the point where I would have to say, "It's time for you to go home now."
Exactly.
You know, and it was and I explained to him. I said, "I'm not being rude. I have to get up early. You know, I have to be out on the job site. You know, really early. It's getting late. It's time for you guys to go home, so that the next time you come over, I won't be mad at you." You know?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and so I thought, well, that's great. We should do more of that. You know, and not that trying to make you mad or hurt your feelings or anything, but if we were even just a little more honest with each other, you know, I think it would be it would go a long way, and you know, like I said, I think you working with the young people. I'm just really excited to see that. I know you're going to do well, and I know how long you've been putting this together.
Well, yeah, and the thing, I don't know, it's not that I don't. I love adults, but when I started training, this is when it clicked for me, when I started training some young adults, and you start hearing their conversations, and you see the things that are going on in their world, and I'm like, oh my God, these kids that are growing up, what kind of life do they have?
Yeah.
When I remember a young boy saying to me, he said, I'm terrified. I said, have you ever had a girlfriend? No. I'm like, okay, do you like girls? Because now here's the other
Yeah.
thing. I have to be careful. I've been told this. You can't ask, are you with a guy or a girl? You have to say something like, do you have a partner? Do you have whatever? Because now, if you're gay, you
Right.
know, and I've done that. I've asked a guy, do you have a girlfriend? They're like, no, I'm gay. Okay, I made that mistake. Or lesbian,
Yeah.
same thing. So, and I'll
But why
say,
should that? Why should that be a mistake?
well, I don't understand that either, and I'm going to have those conversations. I'm going to have some some people come on here because they're going to explain to me, these young people, us, them, you. I'm a super straight according to the new labeling that we have because I just like men.
Right.
I don't like women and men. So I don't understand the political correctness all the time. But that has been addressed to me that, you know, you can't assume because it's a guy he's dating a girl or vice versa. So I just asked him, I said, why? I said, you're, 16 years old, you gotta, do you like girls? And he goes, yeah, but I don't know how to talk to girls. And I go, well, how do you talk to them? He said, well, I text them. I said, well, you know what? You guys are not building any resiliency
Right.
because you know, back in the day, and I said, I'm going to sound like, that person back in the day, guys had to build up some character And if they get put down, oh no, I don't want to date you, blah blah blah, and they'd get maybe told no a couple times, and they'd say, well, you know what, there's Susie down the street, I'll ask her.
Right.
And I said, it builds character, it builds some courage.
There is nothing more scary than walking up to a young girl at a dance to ask her to dance. Walking all the way across the gym floor.
See, and I wouldn't know that because I'm a woman. So
Yeah.
women, we always waited
Right.
for, let's see what guy is going to ask me
Right.
to dance or whatever. So we've never been in that position.
Right.
So I don't even want to know.
But I'm saying, it's just the opposite side of the same coin.
Right.
Because you're stuck there. You can't go over and, oh wow, I really like that guy. Well, you couldn't. You can now. But I mean, I would like to know that guy. But what would happen if you had got up, walked over there, and started,
You're back
talking him up?
in our
Then
day.
you're a slut.
You're a slut.
Yeah.
Oh, she's easy because she's over
Yeah.
there talking to all the guys, or she's dancing with.
Right.
So hopefully, that kind of thinking has.
Well, yeah, a lot of that has
been,
gone away.
That's going away, but it makes me sad because I said, so you see it, you like a girl, you see somebody on whatever it is, your social media, and in a second, if they don't look a certain way, they don't dress a certain way, you have just thrown away a potential maybe date or future girlfriend because she didn't fit some criteria, because you don't even take the time to have a conversation.
Right.
So I don't even know. I don't even want to know how these relationships are going to be in the future, if they're even going to have them.
But see, I think that you have an advantage in that, in your line of work, you have conversations with many people, different people throughout the day. So
About everything.
yeah.
About everything.
No, I know.
I've got an education over the years, and people have said things to me. I've been like, TMI. I didn't want to hear that. Oh, okay. And then you're like, okay. Now all of a sudden I'm the sex therapist. I'm a hairdresser. Okay, I'm not.
I know hairdressers, barbers, and bartenders.
And we know everything.
Yeah.
Like we know everything about
Yeah,
everybody.
I know.
And
I've been in there. You cut. Heidi cuts my hair. See, good job. I've been surprised a couple of times being in there when you've had another client in there and they start talking about something, and I'm thinking, should I get up and leave?
Yeah.
But there's a unwritten or unspoken agreement, I guess, that you have or you develop with people, in that line of work, that okay, I can pour my heart out to him because I'm only going to see him once a month, or something like
But
that.
there's a level of trust, because when you think about it,
Right.
we touch you.
Yeah.
So now there's another element coming
yeah.
into that. So we're
The
not
physical
only,
contact.
and we listen. Believe it or not, people would say, "Oh, hairdressers, they talk." They're blah, 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 blah. We do. Most hairdressers are very vivacious. They're gregarious. I call my profession, we're the flower people of the world. Okay.
Right.
And I never appreciated my industry until I got older, because I was like, I didn't realize it wasn't just cutting hair, and then you get involved with families and deaths and cancer, people who get sick, things with their kids. And you realize, I'm in this 35 years, I said, God, I've been a lot more than just a stylist to
Yeah.
people. I've been a sounding board, and yet it is confidential, because here's the thing. If I know a friend of theirs or a coworker or somebody that sent them in, I do not, when that other client comes in,
Right.
if they even ask me, hey, did you hear about, no, like, what do you mean?
I
There is an unspoken
right.
thing where you don't
Amount of trust
you don't
there
talk
that-
about
yeah.
other people's stuff with other people.
Right.
And we're more listeners, if you can believe that. Once in a while I give my unsolicited advice. Sometimes it's solicited, sometimes it's not, but I find that hairdressers it's an amazing
Go ahead, keep talking. I
it's an
just have to
amazing
fix your microphone
profession.
here.
And the problem now is a lot of hairdressers, they're going to have a shortage of hairdressers in the future, because people aren't going to hair school, because it's getting harder and harder for them to build clienteles, and the cost, to run businesses is escalated, and hopefully, that'll calm itself down. But
Well, you had a tough time during COVID too, huh?
oh my God, yeah, back when I moved here from New York, I built my clientele up, and I thought, oh God, I got to work in one of these. I worked in like a high-end super cuts. It was called Pure Beauty at the time, and I thought, I've been doing hair 15 years, and I got to do this garbage. 2.5 years I gave myself as a goal. 2.5 years I was out of there, and I was paying rent at Salon Biagio, and that building myself up. I said, if I can't build up, I'm not going to do this anymore. I built up. Then we hit that recession, what, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
I lost 40% of my income. People were moving out of state, losing their homes, losing their jobs. And unfortunately, I'm not the first to go, but I am a luxury. So the nail people, the massage people, they're typically the trainers, they get dumped first. We're last, hairstylists. So then we have spent, from that time up until the COVID hit, rebuilding our clienteles. Now COVID hits, we were shut down. And I personally, I was out there, I was going to people's homes. I had so much fun doing that because I got to look even farther into their lives. I got to see their homes. I met their doggies and their cats, and I was taking pictures of everything. And of course I couldn't post it because, you know, oh, you're gonna get in trouble if you're out doing hair. And yet, I can't get political right now, but I won't. But anyway, you know, making it seem like if you're out doing hair, you're a criminal.
Right.
And then people come into my home and they got to meet my pets, and you got a little bit deeper with your client. I wouldn't want to do that long term though, because after a while, the lighting, the chairs, I mean, there was, on my end of it, it became very uncomfortable to do my job, not in my, you know, working space.
Workspace, yeah.
So then many of us, we lost clientele during that time because there was hairdressers going around making formulas for clients, and they're still doing it. So now what they do is they mix up the color formulas and they deliver it to the client, and the client puts their own color on. And they're still doing it. I had a lot of clients.
Isn't that illegal?
No, if you're a licensed cosmetologist, you can do that. So I hate to say it, but hairdressers kind of did it to themselves. You don't do that.
Right.
Just like you don't go on social media and show somebody how to do a full highlight. You don't show people how to do a full haircut. Dumb. The first minute you show the public that you can do this, you just minimized your whole profession. And I'm going to say it, and whoever doesn't want to hear it, I don't care, but I've been in this long enough to know the trends. A lot of this, everything comes back around, nothing's new, it just has a different name. And so that's going on. And then a lot of the women that had gray hair, that were maintaining their hair every 4 or 5 weeks, decided, I'm going to let my gray hair grow out. So now you went from a full service color down to just a haircut and a style. So you just got that income, whatever you would get for that ticket, it was just cut in half. And then people decided they could go longer. Well, I went 2 months before I had to touch up my own roots. Yeah. So it did affect us, and it's still, many of us are recovering from it.
Well, during the COVID and stuff, and when all that was going on, I would just you know,
I had a lot of guy clients that did
just
that.
cutting all my hair off,
and I don't see them. They said, I bought myself a pair of trimmers, and I've been managing myself, and so.
Well, I cut it down to like this, so it just, you know, only had to do that like every 2-3 months or so.
Yeah.
But
so it did. It affected a lot of people, and we're still, now what's happening in the industry is that the cost, our costs to buy color and the shampoos and all the supplies we need to do your hair have almost tripled.
And rent.
And thankfully, where I am, I rent my space, they have not raised our rent.
Oh, good.
And during COVID, she was very, Debbie Ritchie, she's the owner, she was very kind to all of us and said, you don't have to pay rent during COVID.
Wow.
So that was a blessing, because from what I understood after the fact, I heard that other salons kind of did that, but then they had to pay the money back, little increments with their normal rent once we reopened. So that was a blessing during COVID for me. And she said, no rent, I'm not going to take any money from my renters. So that was the good side. So I was able to keep that money, pay my bills, keep up on my current bills.
You don't find many business owners that doing things like that.
No,
not many landlords.
That was great. So that's a little plug
good on
for
you,
Debbie Ritchie.
Debbie Ritchie.
And she was on our show years ago too. I think we had her on
God, it
twice.
seems like 100 years, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not. It hasn't. What has it been? 2019.
Yeah, about that. 18, 19. Yeah.
18, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had some good.
3-4 years ago. Yeah.
Some good guests on there. Met a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
And Joe and I got to do a lot of fun stuff too. From all
well,
those people.
and that's what I love about what I do here is I get to meet so many awesome people, you know, different kinds of people. I had one of the people I'm going to hook you up with that I think will help you in some of the stuff that you're doing is a trans woman. And I had the opportunity to interview her prior to her operation and after her operation, like a year later. And also, I got to interview the doctor who performed the surgery. And he is the only doctor in the state of Nevada that does that surgery. And he was a professor at UNLV, at the medical school there, was a professor there. And he has since left UNLV and started his own practice. He's a plastic surgeon. So they do all kinds of reconstructive surgery, or if you've been in an automobile accident, or, breast, cancer and stuff like that. And his name is Dr. Brocious, John Brocious. Awesome guy. Go through the archives and find the interview that I did with him last year. And Julia was amazing. She told me before the interview, I said, so what do you want to talk about? And she goes, you can ask me anything. Ask me anything you want. And so I'm going, okay, I'm taking advantage of this, because there is, and I learned a lot, not only from her, but also from the doctor, that there is a fear in relating to people that may be gay or transgender or bi or whatever. It's different. And I think there's a fear that we don't know what to say, what to ask, what to avoid or whatever, because, and so it's like,
then you just ignore them. You just, and it's our own. It's our own. It's like a homeless person on the street. Most people don't look at a homeless person because. Why? I mean, it's because you. I don't know why. I mean, I try to, and there's been a couple times that I've been yelled at or whatever, offering food or whatever. But we shun things that we're afraid of rather than have the conversation.
We don't want to face it.
We don't want to face it.
Yeah.
And I think the homeless thing is because maybe all of us at some point we could be that close to being homeless ourselves.
Most of us are a couple paychecks away from being homeless. And it's just. Yeah, it's scary. So anyway, so what else? What else you can talk about?
So what else I'm going to talk about is I'm currently enrolled in nutrition school, because during the whole training process, I've realized that being a bodybuilder,
I was going to say, as a bodybuilder,
doing that diet, that's not sustainable, and nor is it totally healthy, especially for women, because women's bodies with our hormones, and you drop all this body fat, and then you go back to normal eating and your hormones go crazy, and then you blow up because your thyroid and your endocrine system and all that. Nobody tells you that though when you're doing this. That's a possibility for some people. And so I've always, personally myself, I'm an emotional eater. So I realized, I don't need, if you can go that many years without sugar, I competed for 6 years straight, and I never had it. Then all of a sudden, in my last show, I started eating it because I'm like, I haven't had it, I deserve it, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, I'm full blown back into my sugar, addiction and, whatever. So I decided this nutrition class, I kept looking at it, if you can believe it, for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I go, it's just so much money. I don't know if I want to invest that because I don't even know if I'm really into it. Well, one of my clients came in the salon, one of my salon clients, she said, Heidi, you know so much about training and you've helped so many people that, just with the little things that you do. She goes, and the information you have, she goes, you need to go to this school. And she sends me this school. And I go, okay, now I know I'm supposed to go to this nutrition school, because not only was I researching it, but kind of doing this. This client said, I'm telling you, it's going to change your life once you go to the school. And I'm learning not just about how to eat. There's a whole circle of life that we all have, and I want to talk about that. I can tell you how many calories to eat and to train 4 days a week, whatever your program might be.
Right.
But if there's external things going on in your life, or you have trauma, unresolved trauma, that you don't even know you have, and most people don't know this until you start talking to them, and there is a health questionnaire that we go through, then you start peeling away at these layers, and you're like, oh my God, like the reason that you can't stick to a meal plan is because maybe you're rewarded with food when you're a kid.
Right.
The Italian culture, everything is around food, so it's comfort. So you're going through so I want to get on here and talk about that in relative to our children, and the adults, menopausal women, everybody will benefit from all this information, but our children, we have the highest obesity rate in our country, which we should be ashamed of, by the way. 40% of our kids, it makes me whatever, but 50% are minorities.
Wow.
And so what that tells you is that the poor families, the minorities, I mean, I don't want to say that all minorities are poor, because they're not, but it basically says that we still don't care about our kids. that we're okay with these children. They will not outlive us.
Well, that's obvious. I mean, we go to the schools and shoot them, so.
Right, but
You know?
but I'm just saying
I know.
they're not gonna outlive.
And we don't, it's not that we go, it's that as a whole, we're not doing anything about it.
No, and the people, there are people out there that are trying to advocate for better foods and
Right.
getting the nutrition out there to people so they know what they're supposed to be doing. But the thing is this is a sketchy subject because of costs, and people will say it's expensive to eat well. Well, it's going to be expensive down the road when you have to go to the hospital and you got to be on all kinds
Right.
of medications. So that's my target, is to help. I want to really help families
But if
with.
you have $7 to buy groceries for the week, and 2 apples cost you $1.79, I'm just using that
Yeah.
as an example, and a head of lettuce is $1.50. You know what I'm saying? And so it is a factor.
It is a factor.
And you're not going to care about, okay, 20 years from now I'm going to end up in the hospital because I'm not eating well. You're worried about, are my kids going to have enough to eat for the rest of the week?
Right.
And that's the heartbreaker, and that's what we got to figure out how to address that.
And that's a
this whole
systemic
thing
thing.
about free lunches in school,
They're,
I'm all for it.
I am too, but it's a bunch of
Right.
BS because it's not nutritious meals that they're even giving our children, and that's what it comes down to with food. It's like, what are you putting in your body that's nutritious?
Right.
What are you putting? And this is the other rub of.
I had an apple yesterday.
Good. Then you're all full of your fiber. You should be going to the bathroom. But that's what. But then, in all fairness to everybody in the world, they've put so many chemicals in our food.
Yeah.
That now we don't know how our bodies biogenically, we don't know how to break it down. So
Yeah.
it gets stored as insulin, it gets stored as fat. Back when they came out with the fat-free, sugar-free, low-fat, low-sugar, if you won't believe this, but guess what? More people are obese now than back then.
Yeah.
So all those chemical additives, and people are getting tricked. They think that they're eating good. They think they're making the right choices because
There was a whole big thing about eating organic, right? I bet I've seen half a dozen different food items that's the brand name, organic carrots. Not that they're organically grown carrots.
right.
That's
It's
the
a
name of the
ripoff.
company.
It's
Yeah.
a way to generate more money. And I
Right.
got to tell you, the FDA and some of these the CDC, it's a crock because, again, it gets into this government thing where the money's going to go
Right.
and where the priorities are. And right now, we've got subsidies going to the farmers that they have the cows and the eggs and the chicken and what would you call that? Animal proteins. And they're
Dairy.
mass dairy. So they're mass producing, which means they're putting all kinds of crap in there. So far they haven't been able to get to our fruits and vegetables. But you don't want them doing that.
You want to freak out?
But let me
Look at the
finish.
label on a gallon of milk.
I know. When it's this deep with stuff, it's not good for you. That's
Yeah.
your first clue.
It's like, it's milk.
right.
What's all this other
So
shit?
the next best thing would have your own cow, right?
Right,
Do your own
yeah.
milk, but not a lot of
No,
us
I know,
can't.
exactly.
So what I say to my clients when I talk to them about their little baked things that they like to eat, I say, listen, you're better off if you like chocolate chip cookies. Buy the butter, buy the flour, buy your almond
Right.
flour. You can make that even healthy. And I said, make them yourself because you're not getting all the additives that
Right.
you normally would get if you bought a box from Albertsons. And I
Right.
happen to like those stupid
I know.
sugar cookies with the frosting. They're like, I don't know what's in those, some crack or something, but
Famous Amos.
oh
with
my
the
God!
pecans.
Yes, yeah. They're another one. Look at the label.
Don't put
It's
the coffee.
Yeah. So and they do that on purpose too. There's
Yeah.
additives put in that are addicting. So when people say, "Oh, you're just a loser. You can't follow a diet. What's wrong with you? You have no willpower," that has so little to do with it because there is an addictive component to
Sure.
it, and there's a budget
Yeah.
that's attached to that. So in this country, we have to figure out how we can make people take better care of themselves. Now they're normalizing type 2 diabetes, which is scary to say, oh, it's normal. By the time, the average adult gets to be 30 years old, they're going to be pre-diabetic, and now they have medications
Right.
that they put them on to divert the sugar,
Sure.
fat, insulin. That's still not taking care of that's a symptom.
Yeah.
We're not preventing that in the first place. Why should a child be 36% obese at 10 years old?
Yeah.
and the other part, they're not getting any exercise. So that's an avenue I want to visit too, and I want to be able to just have people in the community come on, like you were talking about
Right.
the transgender. I want to have some children come on to talk about what they feel and what's going on in politics, because it's interesting when you listen to the children, they either think they have no power, like it's not going to make a difference. So I think as adults we need to advocate and say, yes, you will make a difference. You need to vote. You need to
If you
talk to
don't think that your vote makes a difference, keep an eye on the Georgia runoff
Oh, okay.
and see how slim that margin was that created the runoff between Warnock and the other guy, Herschel Walker. I mean, it was like 0.2% difference, and neither one made the 50% mark. So they're having the runoff. Now you watch that runoff, which is December 6th is the election day, and you just watch and see how many votes really do count. So anyway, yeah.
And then there's I'm very into women and menopause, which being in that age myself, I've been on bioidentical hormone replacement for 17 years, and I've gotten treated like garbage by doctors that think it's you shouldn't do that.
Right.
I want to educate women. That's going to be a few shows that I'm going to do
Cool.
about. I'm not a doctor. All I'm going to do is I'm going to share my experience and what I know about menopause and diet and hormone replacement. Because a lot of traditional medicine will tell women that, well, if you do that, you have a less than 1% chance of breast cancer.
Less than
Really?
1% chance.
So you're going to tell me not to do hormone? I might get, okay, no. So women need to know that when they get to be the age of 40 or 50 years old, 60, whenever their menopause happens, they don't have to be fat and dry up and not have sex anymore. That's nice in their lives. There are options out there, and I want to share those with women.
Cool.
To say these are the doctors that you could go to. I'm going to help the hormone doctors that are in Vegas help get their word out there, but they need to at least have the information. Now, if you choose to go on them, that's your choice. If you choose not to, but to walk around saying, well, what am I supposed to do? You do have options, and the other rub in all this is that the insurance companies don't recognize it, so you do have to pay out of pocket.
Right.
So here we go with another, I find it, funny that we can have Viagra for men,
Right.
and testosterone, and it's not a big deal.
Right.
But we say to women, I had a doctor, and I'm not kidding you, tell me this. I tell my ladies, go buy gallons of lube. And I just remember looking at him, and I said, this is my last visit, because whether or not you thought you were being funny or not, it's not just about the sex aspect of
Right.
menopause. You prevent Alzheimer's if you go on hormone replacement. Your memory, when you're going through menopause, you have brain fog a lot. Your skin ages faster. Your hair thins out faster. There's all these other biological things that happen to women's bodies,
Right.
and your risk of cancer goes up because you're going through menopause. So all these negative things that can happen to us as we age, some of it you're going to get old. To think that hormones are going to stop everything, that's not true. But it helps minimize some of the
side effects and the effects,
and
right.
the symptoms of menopause, and I want women to know that. So that's another thing I'm passionate about, is women's health issues and
Right.
getting that information out there.
This is. I'm excited. I can't wait for you to start. I just see some enormous possibilities here, and I'm so glad that you finally got around to doing it.
Well, I had to get some push.
I know.
You had to be on my back a little bit.
I understand.
And that's because I don't want to say this, and I'm going to say, because I have to be a little bit vulnerable. I like to talk a big game to people. And I mean it. My
Yeah.
game is real. Like when I'm encouraging my clients and whatever, I'm totally 100% into them and what they're doing.
I know.
And even my relationships, I try to be that person. But when it comes to me, I have this tendency that I'll go, that's going to be too much. I don't know if I have time for that. I'll wait until the time is right. Well, the thing is there's never a right time.
That's right.
And time's
You have to
going by.
make the right time.
It's going by,
Yeah.
and I just feel like I need to do something while, I can still, I'm still relevant too.
That's right. Well, it's about
People
time.
still listen. So I want to thank you.
Anyway, no, listen. I've been watching you develop this for the last year or two, and to see it finally come to fruition is like, all right, go girl. You know,
Yeah.
if I can say that, can I say
You
that?
can say that. You can say, go
Oh,
girl.
girl.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Anyway, hey guys, we'll you know, keep an eye on the website and social media. We'll give you a heads up when the show starts, but it's going to be pretty soon. Knowing Heidi the way I do, it's going to be something that you're going to be wanting to watch and tell your friends about.
And we're going to have some fun too, because when we work out, you're going to be working out a little bit, so they get to see John. He's going to do some movements and some exercises too for just get your blood flow. We're going to learn some breathing, some
good.
meditation.
Okay,
we're going to do all
cool.
kinds of fun stuff
All
on
right,
the
cool. So yeah, if you guys want to see me work out,
show. I want to see him work out.
you've seen me work out
Where?
over at the gym over there on.
Oh, that's
Sahara.
right.
Yeah.
I trained you for like
Yeah.
a minute.
Yeah, no, it was 6
It was
months.
6 months, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this
I have a lot more experience now, though. So, maybe
So do
I. We both do.
But this place is, I mean, this place is, I don't have any time anymore. I don't get to go anything.
And your studio, by the way, is great.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
So
Yeah, isn't it
I
cool?
love it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's
you guys
cool.
should come and check it out. So anyway, I want to thank you again, and we really do appreciate you supporting the station and all of the people who have their shows here and the different charities and nonprofits that we try to bring to you. And as I always say, if you're going to do it with styles. See ya.
See ya.
Nice work, John.